The Brits and their pubs. Short for public house, it's a kind of public living room. A freshly poured pint for any occasion. Births, weddings, wakes. This is where you meet with friends or work colleagues.
My dad used to go to the pub, he was a carpet fitter, so he used to go to the pub to find work, you know, because that's where the builders would be.
But this British cultural heritage is under threat. Over the last 30 years, a third of all pubs have disappeared. Not only has the economic crisis been hard on pub owners, many pubs are run by corporations who only really care about profits.
Pubs are closing every week. Why? What's behind it?
Aaron Carter is the landlord of the Golden Lion in Camden, North London. This pub's history goes back to the Victorian period, at the end of the 19th century. Aaron took over the Golden Lion in the winter of 2018. Initially, business was good, but for 2 years, it has been going downhill. He starts at 11, 1 hour before opening. Aidan, his bartender, arrives.
All good.
How was yesterday?
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, it didn't seem too busy, but...
No, it was quieter later in the night.
Yeah, it's not a great start, but hopefully tonight will be busier.
Yeah.
Kitchen's open again today at lunchtime, so hopefully we'll get some people in. Done some advertising, got a really good deal going on, so yeah, hopefully it'll work out.
Hopefully.
Yeah, sweet.
Cool.
Aidan is one of 7 employees Aaron needs to pay, but he barely has the money for it.
There's several challenges at the moment in the industry. A lot of people haven't returned to work post-COVID, and they just work 2 or 3 days a week from the office, whereas traditionally we would get quite a lot of people coming into the pub for lunch 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, and also, especially towards the end of the week, Thursdays and Fridays, there'd be a lot of people coming down to have social drinks and, you know, really kind of spend the evening here. So a lot of those customers have gone away.
The typical pubgoers from the surrounding offices used to bring in half of his income, he says. To crown it all, the old office buildings here were pulled down, and new ones are under construction. He's missing the passing trade. Then there's the energy costs, as a consequence of the war in Ukraine. Aaron has only recently reopened the kitchen.
Okay, so we've got a couple of dishes to prep today. The new specials, Ethan, the Catalan fish stew and the chicken parmigiana. You good to go with those?
Sure.
Good stuff. Get yourself one of these hot and get a pot on it. We're going to be saucing that.
Ethan is Aaron's younger brother. He started as a cook here a year ago. Back then business was still fairly good, but then Russia invaded Ukraine. The consequences have been felt even here.
We found that the price of electricity really shot up earlier this year. We went from paying 1,000 a month to 4,000 a month, which was really unsustainable. We found it quite difficult to keep the kitchen operating because you know, the costs shot up overnight, and obviously we can't quadruple the price of our product. So we had to take the very difficult decision to close down the kitchen.
And so Aaron had to let his younger brother go, right at the start of his career. Now he too is hoping the fresh start will bring in new customers.
I find myself a little bit stuck, worrying, if this is affecting this business, how am I going to find another chef job in another restaurant or a pub or a business that also is facing the same problems?
Add in 3 of these prawns.
As a consequence of Brexit and COVID, Aaron had previously already had to lay off an expert chef, whose recipes he still remembers and is now teaching his brother.
It's a real tragedy, actually. So we've been through quite a few months where people would often come into the business and ask, you know, can we get some lunch? And we'd have to say, sorry, the kitchen's closed at the moment. and you know, those people have gone elsewhere, and they've probably started enjoying where else they go. So as a part of kind of trying to re-establish the business, we're having to sell, well, we're offering the food half the price that we were pre-COVID, which is absolutely crazy. And you know, we won't make any money on it, but what are our options? We need people to come into the business.
Lunchtime comes around. Before, the place would have been packed by now. Aidan has never before had so much time to polish the beer taps.
Busy is better. It keeps you occupied, and there's a lot of finding your own work when the customers aren't keeping you busy, you know what I mean? Yeah.
The Catalan fish stew is ready. The special for an affordable £14.95. Aaron is taking pictures for his social media channels.
Just to show that we are serious about food, and you know, we don't just we're not just trying to do the basics. We're trying to do something nice for people to come and enjoy in a nice traditional pub environment. So hopefully this will help.
Yeah, just this one. Oh, that's all the chicken was in it.
Just the one, yeah.
Yeah, just that.
Cool. This is coming down, yeah.
Cool. You all right?
Due to the war in Ukraine, the energy costs have increased for breweries as well. Aaron is trying not to pass it all on to the customers. The cab drivers pay £6 for their beer here.
A lot of places in Camden now, it's like near £7 a pint, which is ridiculous, isn't it, really? Do you know what I mean? So when you can get 10 cans for £8 to sit indoors, that's what you're going to do. That's why I'm only having 2 pints and going home.
What hardly anyone knows, the beer prices are often decided externally. Aaron is lucky because he is an independent owner, but around 3/4 of Britain's pubs are operated by large corporations, say the experts. Ever since Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister, the market, worth billions, has been completely unregulated. Behind the chain of Young's pubs is a national brewery. Green King owns over 3,000 public houses. A few years ago, the chain was acquired by a billionaire from Hong Kong. Pubs are shuffled between corporations, like commodities. In the city's southern area of Camberwell, there is a man who is very familiar with the darker side of this business. In the 1990s, Mark Dodd was running a thriving pub. Known for good drinks and jazz gigs, it was the place to be. His landlord, a large corporation. Today, Mark lives on state welfare. He is returning to the place that used to be his life's dream, to take pictures for his blog, in which he explains the backstory of this business.
Through a succession of rent reviews, the pub became less and less profitable for me as an individual, and eventually in 2011, I was evicted and became homeless for 3 years and bankrupted because of the excessive rent and beer prices applied by the pub company.
The pub corporations set the rent and beer prices. The more successful the business, the more they siphon off, Mark says. Initially, his lease was £32,000 per year. By the end, it was said to be £65,000. He filed for legal actions and lost.
The pub company makes more profit, and if the tenant works harder, does more hours, keeps the business going, doesn't affect the pub company, and if the tenant's business breaks, essentially fails, there's usually another willing tenant to come along and think, well, I can make that pub work. The previous tenants must have been doing something wrong, and then they take on the lease, and the same thing happens.
Spokespeople of the pub industry refer to fates like Mark's as regrettable isolated cases. The billion-pound corporations tend to only very rarely face legal sanctions.
I see it as a cultural crime that essentially hedge fund-backed pub companies are able to destroy local culture and community without any of us really knowing what's going on.
He also wants to start a podcast about the merciless reality of the pub industry, in addition to his blog. Back in Camden, in North London. As an independent owner, Aaron Carter may not depend on pub chains, but he has other problems.
When I checked the till, it was £37.40, and that's for a good 4-hour stretch. It's really not enough money to keep a business going. With income like that, the pub can't survive.
Aaron's taking a 1-hour train ride north to the small town of Hitchin. He took on another pub there back in 2019, when business was still good. Now he commutes between the two pubs almost daily. On one of Hitchin's main roads lies the Albert Inn, Aaron's second public house. Many of the people who no longer commute into London, but instead work from home, live in this area. And in the evenings, they meet up at the Albert. As a result, business is still going fairly well here. He's trying to use the earnings from here to make up for the losses in his Camden pub. And he has to, because privately, he isn't facing any fewer challenges. Aaron is about to be a dad. Tanya, his fiancée, is here. She is pregnant, and in just a few months, there will be 3 of them. But Aaron only has a little time for her now. The quiz night he is hosting is about to start. This is common, and he tells us Tanya recently had a serious word with him about it.
She was concerned about the amount of time I spend in the business. Essentially I made a promise to her that I would spend the next couple of months trying to extract myself from the business so I could spend time with her. And more importantly, ensure that the pubs are in a position where they're able to make some money so that we're able to, have a comfortable life.
The pub quiz, a classic of British pub culture.
Testing. Okay, cool. Hello, you're quizzing with me tonight? Very good. How many are you? 4, cool. It's £2 each to play. It's great, thank you. Cheers. Yeah, it's normally one of our better nights, so I've given you a sheet already. That's your pen. There's some anagrams on the back. You'll be delighted to know it's football teams.
His pub has long been fully booked for this evening.
There you go. There's your quiz sheet. Anagrams.
That more and more pubs have been disappearing has been a topic with his guests as well.
In a drinking place like this, it's been up many hundreds of years in England and the UK. So yeah, it's a bit worrying.
The fewer pubs you have, especially independents like this place, because then you have to go to chain restaurants or chain pubs, and it's just not the same. And I feel like when you come to places like this, you're putting money into the local economy, and that's really important. So yeah, fewer pubs is a bad thing.
I'd be worried if it became something that disappeared altogether. Yeah, but with a bit of luck, I'll be dead by then.
Question number 1. How many years are there in a millennium? How many years are there in a millennium? Question number 2. Question 2. How many legs does an insect have?
All in all, 60 paying guests are at the pub quiz. Sold out.
Question number 3. How many hearts has a cuttlefish? Is it 1, 2, or 3?
There are still 97 questions to come. Guessing fun for hours. And for the landlord, a decent turnover. While things are going well here, Aaron checks in with his colleague in Camden about how it's going at the Golden Lion.
So, happily, we've got a bit of a crowd in tonight. They're having a few drinks and we've sold some food, so yeah, it's good, it's hopeful.
In the current economic crisis, pub companies are just about getting by. And when things do get difficult for them, they can just sell a few premises. After the financial crisis of 2008, this was happening all the time. Subsequently, only 1 in 10 pubs kept its original use. All the others were sold on as investment properties and converted into fast food chains, betting shops, or sold off as flats. 4 flats have been squeezed into this one former pub alone. It has been the same across the whole country, and the British have lost thousands more of their public living rooms. In Ryton, near Newcastle, the same thing was due to happen. Ryton, Great Britain. But these 2 ladies achieved a small miracle, together with other regulars. Pubs like the Old Cross also have a social function, particularly in small towns like Ryton, with only a few thousand inhabitants. The 2 pensioners live only a few walking minutes from their pub. Sandra Cheeseman is visiting her friend, Liz Smith. 5 years ago, their pub too was on the brink of closing. The proprietor, the IE Group, one of the biggest pub chains, wanted to convert it into cash.
Everybody was really quite devastated when we heard that the pub was going to close it. We heard it was going to be actually up for sale for other purposes than being a pub, and we were all quite upset about that because we felt we were losing part of the community within the village.
But now they're frequenting their pub again, albeit not just as guests, but as the owners, because they established a cooperative with other regulars to buy their beloved Ye Old Cross. The name of the pub comes from the Old Cross, in front of which the priest would publicly preach on the green.
We have these trees will hang individually, right, in different places. Some of the things are already strung into garlands to wrap around the trees beside the lights.
All the helpers at this Christmas decoration campaign are part of the cooperative they founded in 2018. They sold share certificates, 10 shares for £200. It was just about affordable for those who didn't have much, and whoever wanted to acquire more shares paid more.
We'd looked at different options. We decided the share option was the best way, because then it meant that people were going to become part of the pub, and they were going to have part ownership in the pub. We thought that would give them a sort of sense of belonging.
Well, it was closed for so long, and the people in the village missed the pub. So when we found out that we could buy shares, everybody I know bought shares in the village. So it's lovely to come in and support it.
They gathered £150,000, an additional loan of £50,000, and the pub was theirs, the community's. The whole town helped with the laborious renovation, and they found a young, ambitious tenant who knows the trade. Mick Rolfe, expert in craft beers and European beers. He's always extending the drinks menu without corporate adhesion contracts and without ruinous leaseholds. Their profit is the feeling of community.
So they want to see the business succeed, so they come here, spend the time here, have a drink here, have a laugh. So yeah, I think it makes it a little different to your regular pub, you know.
Community owned. The hand paint and lettering is the pride and joy of the almost 400 part owners.
A lot of the shareholders or the people who wanted to come and drink in the pub were plasterers, painters, decorators, and a lot of people gave up their free time and helped to save a little bit of money.
They made the knitted winter decorations for the tree outside themselves, in the craft group that meets here. There is also a yoga group that uses the event space upstairs. Cinema nights, poetry slams, literary readings. A varied program, organised together with their landlord.
I think because it's a community pub, it's a bit more friendly towards women. I think I feel more comfortable coming here as a woman than I would in a normal pub.
The men are comfortable about having women in. Have they got a choice? No.
Liz has just given me them. I'm doing.
There are now 150 of these communally organised pubs all over Great Britain. Liz and Sandra will be back again tonight for the Cooperative's board meeting. Pub blogger Mark Dodd knows of the community project in Brighton and even advised the founders in the beginning. He's come to Camden to check out the Golden Lion pub. Mark has heard that Aaron Carter is fighting for its survival, surrounded by pubs that are owned by big chains. He wants Aaron to be a guest on his podcast.
Hiya, how are you? Bit chilly. Could I get what junction is that? Is that a bitter?
Yeah.
Have you got a pale ale, please?
I've got a session.
Yeah, can I have a pint of that?
Yeah.
And that's Sandbrooks as well.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks to
thank
his
you.
blog, Mark knows hundreds of
Figuring
pubs,
high in my
but
drinking
it's
at the
his
moment.
first time here.
It's interesting, bar this. It looks huge from the outside. It's kind of quite compact inside, isn't it?
It's lovely. It's got the original features.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Are you a local?
I just work next door. I work at the post office next door.
Uh-huh.
Just finished work.
Hiya. Mark, is it?
Hey, yeah.
Aaron.
Oh, really
Nice
good
to
to meet
meet
you.
you.
Yeah, how are you?
Very good, thanks.
Yeah,
How's
thanks
things?
for coming over. Yeah, good, thanks. Can I get you a drink?
No, you've got one.
Yeah,
I'll get one myself,
All right,
and then I'll
then.
get you another one
That's
after.
brilliant. All right, thanks.
Yeah, good to meet you too.
Yeah,
Cheers. Used to be at the Sun in Camberwell.
Yeah, Sun and Doves.
The important social function of pubs is something Mark wants to discuss in his podcast as well.
I regard the pub as the world's original social network, which I think is uncontestable, really. And now we've got social networks which are very different because they're offline, they're online, they're not face to face. And I believe that a lot of social unrest and problems in society generally, and polarisation of opinion in society, has occurred gradually as pubs have become less and less available for people to share time and experience in.
We see that pubs are closing, but has anyone looked beyond that? So it's a great opportunity, I think, for you to look beyond the headlines and to investigate a little bit further into, what these talking points are that never really get investigated. It's like, oh, pubs are closing every week. Why? What's behind it? I think your podcast would be a great opportunity to actually highlight those elements of what's going on to the general public.
Well, thank you very much, because it really is about bringing together the real story of pubs instead of the corporate story of pubs. Yeah,
Aaron and Mark appear to be on the same page. And so they will soon chat in front of Mark's podcast microphone. It's evening at the Old Cross in Ryton. The Pub Cooperative Board are arriving for their monthly meeting upstairs, where cinema nights, concerts, and the monthly comedy competition usually take place. On tonight's agenda, planning next year's budget. Ownership has its responsibilities.
Some of the bigger plans we have for the building, if we're going to look at solar panels
Yes.
and more windows, and we need to raise X thousands of pounds.
Due to the high energy bills, they want to replace all the old windows. But for that, they'll need new shareholders to buy share certificates. The balance sheet is littered with instances of supporters returning their shares.
How much has sort of been withdrawn?
We went
Yes.
over budget.
Yes.
I think it's over 6,000.
Right, okay.
Right. So we need
Yeah.
to try and get that
Yeah.
back in. Because of the current situation with
Yeah.
the food prices and
cost of
everything
living,
else, people put their reasons on why they want to withdraw.
So they have their challenges as well. Setting up a pub cooperative doesn't mean there are no problems. They're just different ones. Every shareholder can help by at least ordering another round. following evening in Camden, North London. It's the weekend. Around this time, the place used to be heaving. Aaron would always ring the bell behind him shortly before 11. Last round. That's all in the past now. Downstairs in the kitchen, Ethan has been on his phone for 3 hours because no one is ordering food.
It's rough seeing him worry about if someone's going to come in. Do we have enough people? Is this going to cost too much? It's a big worry. You know, I just want him to be happy.
It's dead. It's Friday night at 7 o'clock. There's 10 people in the pub. It's mental. Yeah.
The next day in Hitchin, the small town north of London. Aaron has a plan, and his fiancée, Tanya, is helping him.
Oh, look at these.
Ooh. What we're looking to do is to create a bit more of a lounge style in the pub. So maybe some nice sofas, some nice lighting, some things to make it feel a little bit more comfortable.
That's different.
Okay, I'm definitely having this. This is the first purchase.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Should go around the other side. Oh no.
Oh, this one.
Which one?
That one there.
Ah.
Yeah, that's fab.
I don't know.
Say yes.
Okay, I'll move on.
There isn't much time before the birth of their child. Aaron is trying anything to improve business.
Where does the hat?
So hopefully they do well and they run smoothly so he can take more time out of work and spend more time at home. So, yeah.
The next morning in London, his brother Ethan is already waiting for him. Aaron bought this sofa on eBay.
It's pretty cool, huh?
Yes. It's actually quite comfy.
It's lovely. I don't think we can leave it here, though. We're going to have to move it.
It's Sunday, the day of the roast. The staple of British cuisine. You can only get a Sunday roast at your mum's house or at the pub.
See, it's a lot better once it's left rolled.
Slow roasted meat with veg, delicious gravy, and a Yorkshire pudding to soak it up.
We've been trying to do more marketing. We put out a newsletter this morning and we've been posting on Instagram and Facebook. So we've had a couple of bookings so far today, so touch wood, it'll go well.
The new sofa and the seat by the rabbit lamp are already taken. Aidan finally has something to do. After a long time, business is booming again. At least somewhat. Even Generation Instagram have found their way to the Golden Lion.
Oh my god. We should always come here.
Even though it's going well today, thanks to the roast, on all other days, Aaron is fighting to survive. Britain's pubs are in crisis. What's the point of running a pub that's only ever in the red?
I think to let it go would be a real shame because there's so much history here and so much potential here. This pub is definitely part of our story and we want to keep it that way.